and started that game with the 20-5 hole early?
No, I don't have an answer for what I attribute it to. It's just unacceptable the way we started the game. It was a big hole for us. It's pretty obvious that we can't play with the show-up mentality. We showed up in the first quarter, and they played with desperation, simple and plain.
Next up is Dave McMenamin with ESPN, followed by Dwayne Rankin.
Monty, you guys did make a push though. You take the lead in the third quarter.
Yeah.
Cut it, I think, down to 4 midway through the fourth. What do you think you were missing to get over that line?
Guarding the ball, simple as that. That's basketball universal 101. You got to be able to guard the ball. We did, and they hit some tough shots, and you give them credit. They had 58 points in the paint. That's not something you would have expected, especially with them not having Zubac tonight. And so we will be better in the next game. But that's paramount on my mind right now is we got to play with way more force and competitive edge, and we got to guard the ball.
Next is Dwayne Rankin with the Arizona Republic, followed by Jovan Buha.
Yeah, Coach, you talked about points in the paint, Cousins, and just not. We went from hardly playing to having that kind of performance.
15 points off the bench. When you have to double guys like that, it forces you into rotations. We didn't meet him early. We let him get right to the block tonight. He got whatever he wanted for the time he was in the game, and he was a presence tonight. They played with determination. You know, we have to realize we're trying to close out a series against a team that's been there before, and they're going to claw and scratch and do whatever it takes. We have to have that mentality. And I didn't feel that in the first quarter. As the game progressed, we had it, and then they had confidence because they were making shots.
Next is Jovan Buha with the Athletic, followed by Kellen Olson.
Hey, Monty. Without Zubac, they played a lot more small ball.
Yeah.
I think they went small for like 37 minutes. They had actually played better with Zubac versus the small lineup. What kind of changed tonight did you feel with them having success going small?
I didn't think we showed them enough bodies. Even when they were in one-on-one situations, I thought we were spread out. When we looked at it at halftime, you could see nothing but paint instead of seeing Suns' bodies and arms, even when they were in isolation situations with Paul and Reggie and Morris. We didn't show them enough bodies. And when they have a small lineup like that, they're going to try to spread you out. Again, it comes down to being able to guard the ball and forcing them to shoot tough shots. We let Paul go left, step back. How many times did we see that tonight? You know, Reggie went left into his shot. There were times we were shifted too far off of Reggie, and he hit some deep threes. But in that moment, you have to understand that he's going to take those shots, especially late in the game.
Next is Kellen Olson with Arizona Sports, followed by Gina Mizell.
Hey, Monty, for you guys offensively, the Clippers went zone to start the game.
Yeah.
How did you assess the way you guys handled it early on?
I didn't think early we held the ball too much. That's all we talked about was once the ball gets to the second side, take off. You know, either shoot it or get to the paint. When we did it, it looked pretty good. And I thought we allowed them to force us to stay on the side of the floor instead of getting over top of the screens. When you get over top of the screen versus the zone, then you can force them into rotations. We didn't do a good job of that tonight, but we will. We will be better. They'll probably do the same thing, throw some defenses at us like that, and we have to be better.
Next is Gina Mizell with Suns.com, followed by Cameron Cox.
Monty, you kind of touched on this in your first answer, but just you have the 2-0 in closeout games before. What do you think you've learned now about closeout games as you get deeper in the playoffs, and just what do you anticipate the next step?
The desperation has to be there. That's the deal. You know, just because you have a lead in the series doesn't mean you can show up and they're going to give it to you. You know, we have to understand that, and I think we do now. We will be better when we show up the next time we play. But their desperation, their competitive edge tonight was consistent for 48 minutes. We did it in spurts, and we certainly didn't start the game with it.
Next is Cameron Cox with 12 News, followed by Sierra.
Let's take a look at this series schedule as the Western Conference Finals have been extended. Game 6 is in Los Angeles Wednesday at 9 Eastern on ESPN. So let's take a look ahead to Game 6. The Clippers have extended this series with that Game 5 win, and we've talked a lot about the Clippers, but Smitty, let me ask you about the Suns. If they're going to close out on the road, what has to happen?
Well, I think right now on the road in a Game 6 scenario, and when this team has all the confidence right now in the swagger and the Clippers right now because they gain the momentum again, I look at it as they'll be fine at the beginning of the game. Then it becomes the first 5 minutes of that third quarter.
Yeah.
That's when the game will start. You'll start to see where we are, in that game six, because they're going to be able to hang in there. Both teams, they're going to go back and forth. Somebody might get a big lead. But that third quarter for either team, GA, in that Game 6, if that first 5 minutes of that third quarter and you're down by a lot and that lead gets extended, that pressure is going to mount up. And then you're going to have some guys, especially young guys, trying to get it all back in one play. But then also, if you look at it, if you're tied up and you start to get that momentum and you get a little bit of separation, puts a lot of pressure on the Clippers.
And 3-1 turns into 3-3 really quickly.
It can. And again, the pressure will be on Phoenix. And I think Monty hit it on the head. Like, what's tough about games like this for inexperienced teams is, you don't understand that you've got to be desperate when you're up 3-1. Like, you have to match that sense of urgency that the Clippers played with. And they basically were climbing uphill the entire game. And Smitty talked about it. Like, that first 5 to 7 minutes really sets the tone. Like, if you go out and you match their physicality and their intensity, now they know you're not going to wilt. Tonight, I thought they gave the Clippers a lot of confidence with how they played. And I really felt like a lot of that is on, as great as he is, I didn't think Chris and I didn't think that Devin trusted their teammates enough and got those guys engaged. To me, the biggest taboo of the game was DeAndre Ayton getting 9 shots against a small lineup. Like, and even though they go zone, that shouldn't deter you from getting him touches, because the thing about getting him touches is now he becomes a more active player. And with bigs, it's up to the team to get a big involved. He doesn't bring the ball up the court.
Right, yeah.
He doesn't get to, call his own number. And so I think when Chris goes and watches this film and Monty and they breaks, they'll look at that campaign coming up. Like, they've got to do a better job of getting their best big man involved in the game.
GA and Kristen, in these games, stars are stars, right? But Phoenix energy guys had no energy.
Yeah.
Jay Crowder, Mikal Bridges, even Cameron Payne, he's around, he's jumping around. They were a little shell-shocked. The energy guys for the Clippers, that Patrick Beverly was all over the place. Marcus Morton, those energy guys played with energy. Mm-hmm. And the energy guys for Phoenix Suns, I didn't see that energy from Mikal Bridges. I didn't see that energy, from Jay Crowder. Usually he's into things. He's rebounding, he's taking charges. I didn't see that tonight.